Hello, my name is Mrs. Zeke and this is English for 5th and 6th grade. Today, we are going to be practicing how to draw conclusions and formulate opinions. The only thing you'll need is a piece of paper and a pencil. Let's first talk about different ways to draw conclusions. I bet you already have a few. For example, if you pulled up into a parking lot of a grocery store and nobody else was in the parking lot, what might you think about the availability of that store? Is it open and you're just the only person there? Probably not. You got there before it opened or after it closed. Part of drawing conclusions and formulating your own opinions comes from experience. I want to practice this today by sharing a little story with you. I'm going to give you some time to think about the story, think about what happened, and then draw your own conclusion. Once you've heard it, your conclusion might be different than your neighbor or your friend or the family member that's there watching with you as well. That's the beauty of drawing conclusions. Based off your experience, you might have something different than the person next to you. So let's sit back, relax, and imagine the following scenario. Listen to what's happening, pay special attention to the details, and then I want you to decide what happened to the narrator's home. Are you ready? Let's go. When I got home from school, I knew something was wrong immediately. The couch was torn apart, the books were all over the floor, the trash can was dumped, and the pillows were ripped open with stuffing still flying in the air. Roxy stood in the corner, shaking. Take 1 minute. Think, what happened in this home? Who is Roxy? Why did you formulate this opinion? 1 minute is on the clock. Ready? Go! Let's bring it back together. What happened in the narrator's home here? Were they robbed? Was it the middle of the night and they slept through it all? Did they get home and see the burglar there in front of them? Going through their home, ransacking for money and their personal belongings? At first, I thought the same thing. The house was messed up. The tone of the story, read by the narrator, was a little suspenseful. But then I started thinking about it a little longer. Roxy. That is a very specific name. Maybe Roxy wasn't a human at all. Maybe Roxy was a puppy who misbehaved and tore the house apart. I am formulating that conclusion because I have my own puppy, and this happened to me 3 years ago when we were training her. If I didn't have that experience, I may not have drawn that conclusion, but because it's something that I have experienced, I am going to land there, that it's a dog who just tore up the house. If you thought something different, that's okay too. Share that with your family member or your friends around you. Keep practicing on drawing your own conclusions both in your classrooms and your daily lives. Y'all are doing great. That concludes our lesson for today. It's been my pleasure having you in class. I'm Mrs. Zeke and I'll see you next week.
Hi, my name is John Hatch, and this is a 5th 6th grade math lesson on dependent and independent variables. And we are going to need these to be able to do this today. We need a math notebook and a pencil and graph paper. And if you need to go get that, this would be a good time, and we'll go over the math standards for this lesson. EEIC 9. Identify and describe relationships between two variables that change in relationship to one another. EEIC 9b. Analyze the relationship between the dependent and independent variables using graphs and tables, and relate these representations to each other. All right, the independent variable is the variable that is changed, like how much water you're adding to a plant, or how much weight is added to a bar that you're lifting. And it shows here in this picture that for this plant, it's the amount of water that could be added to it. That's the independent variable. The dependent variable is the variable that is affected by the change, such as when you're adding water, are you adding enough that the size of the plant changes? Or you could count the number of leaves that are growing on the plant. Or is your plant dead now and it's not receiving enough water? So that could be a dependent variable. All right, let's take a look at this. An orchard sells apples by the pound. Each day, P pounds of apples are sold, and the amount of money taken in is M. Which variable, P or M, depends on the other variable? Well, we're selling apples, and the more apples we sell, the more money we'll make. So the money is dependent on the apples. So the dependent variable is the money, and the independent variable would be the apples. And this says here that the independent variable is the pounds of apples, and the dependent variable is the amount of money that is taken in. All right, how about this one? The number of hours worked and the amount of money earned. Which is the dependent and which is the independent variable? Well, the more hours you work, the more money that you'll make. And we used a graph like this the last couple weeks. So we'll talk about the x-axis is the hours worked, and the y-axis is the money earned. So the independent variable is the number of hours, and the dependent variable is the amount of money that you make. In this one, we have a plant that's growing, and it's a bean, and we are measuring it every 10 days. And we can see here on this graph that after 10 days, it has grown 3.4 centimeters. When we got to the 20th day, we measured it, and it is now at 16.6 centimeters. 10 days later, it's now 30 days that this plant has grown, about 1 month, and it's at 28.7 centimeters. And finally, we get to 40 days, and it's grown 39.3 centimeters. We can also show it on as a chart. And on the left column, we have days. And on the right column, we have the number of centimeters that the plant has grown. What is the independent variable on this? Well, we're giving an amount of time, so that would be the days that are taking place. So the independent variable would be the number of days, and the dependent variable would be the amount of growth that's taken place, the number of centimeters. Oh, here's a cool one. This cannon shoots pumpkins, and we're going to be talking about the number of degrees of the angle of the cannon. And right now, it's at 0. And when the angle is 0, it can shoot a pumpkin 15.2 meters. When we set it at an angle of 10 degrees, now it can shoot a pumpkin 19.4 meters. When we change the angle to 20 degrees, it can now shoot at 23.5 meters. So as we change the angle, it seems to be shooting it further. That's pretty interesting. And now we set it up as a chart on this one, and we can see that on the chart that we have on the left side the number of degrees, 0, 10, 20, and 30. And over on the right side, the number of meters, and it's showing 15.2 meters, 19.4, 23.5, and 26.5 meters. And so we've shown it both as a graph and also as a chart. All right, let's try this one together. Our school is hosting a basketball tournament. There are 5 players on each team. There were 50 shirts printed for the tournament. Make a T-chart and a graph showing how many shirts will be given out if there are 8 teams. How many shirts will be left over? So when the first team shows up, on our chart we can write 1 for the team and 5 for the shirts. And over on our graph, we've gone over 1 on the x-axis and up 5 on the y-axis. The next team, we're at 2 teams and 10 shirts. And so we went over 2 on the x-axis and up to 10 on the y-axis. We continue it. There are now 3 teams and we're at 15 shirts. 4 teams is 20 shirts. 5 teams is 25 shirts. 6 teams is 30 shirts. 7 teams is 35 shirts. And 8 teams is 40 shirts. But we still have that question. How many shirts will be left over? Well, let's go back and look at the question. In the third sentence, it says, there were 50 shirts printed for the tournament. And when I look at my chart, it says that there were 40 shirts passed out. So we started off with 50 and we gave away 40. So we could do 50 minus 40 and that would equal 10 shirts. There'll be 10 shirts left over. Oh, good, it's your turn. All right, on this one, it says the school is having the annual breakfast fundraiser. Our class is asked to donate 40 eggs. How many cartons will need to be purchased to have at least 40 eggs? How many extra eggs will there be? So go ahead and use your graph paper and you can show how many eggs per carton. And then remember, there are 12 eggs, 1 dozen in each carton. How many cartons will need to be purchased? And then after you do that, you can have a T-chart that shows that as well. I'll give you 2 minutes to be able to solve this. Good luck. All All right, let's take a look at how you've done. So we have a T-chart and we have our graph right here, and it shows 1 carton and 12 eggs. Then it shows 2 cartons and 24 eggs. The next one, 3 cartons and 36 eggs. 4 cartons and 48 eggs. But remember that question, how many extra eggs will there be? Well, it says that they need 40, but we have 48 eggs. So 48 minus 40 would be 8 extra eggs. All right. Well, we've just done a lesson on dependent and independent variables. And we found out that the independent variable is the thing that you can change, like how much water you're adding to a plant. And the dependent variable is something like how much it's growing or how many leaves it has. Thanks for doing this lesson with us today. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, my name is Ms. Shiva and I'm here with the Kansas City Public Schools, and this is Science for 5th and 6th grade. In our next 5 episodes, we will be talking about 4 Earth's spheres. 4 major parts of the Earth work together as a complex system. On a global scale, each part can be thought as a sphere, shape and size like our planet. So the 4 parts are called the geosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. I'm standing outside and you can find examples of each sphere around me. And today we're going to learn about hydrosphere. A hydrosphere is a total amount of water on our planet. The hydrosphere including water which is on the surface, underground, and in the atmosphere. Okay, after this episode, guys, you will be able to describe and graph amount and percentage of salt water and fresh water in various reservoirs to provide evidence about distribution of water on our planet. Let's get started. Names for all 4 Earth's spheres have Greek roots, describing what they are made of. Hydro comes from Greek hydro, which means water. You've probably seen this in other words that have to do with the water, like hydrate or fire hydrant. So hydrosphere is made up of water. Ice, rain, oceans, rivers, and lakes are all part of the hydrosphere.
Think about water you use every day. When you pour a glass of water, add ice, even when you breathe.
The fact that water exists on the Earth as a liquid, solid, and gas forms is one of the unique properties of water. It makes water extremely useful here on the Earth. One of the reasons you can find water on the Earth in all 3 stages is narrow temperature range between freezing and boiling points. Under standard condition, pure water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and boils at 100 degrees Celsius.
Indeed, without the water, our planet would be completely different from what we know.
You already know that we, humans, can't survive without water. Water is all around you. You drink it, you wash in it, you play in it. Water is through your body. About 70% of your body is water. Water not only important to humans but all life on Earth. The oceans, streams, rivers, and lakes are full of activity and provide habitats for many organisms within and around them. Water molecules are attracted to other polar molecules. Together with cohesion, this allows for the capillary action that pulls water upward within narrow tubes inside plant stems. Water moves by this method from the ground to the leaves where the photosynthesis occurs. Animals use water to move nutrients and waste through their bodies. Humans can survive for weeks without food, but for only a few days without water. How much of the water on the earth is actually a fresh water? Let's find out.
Okay, let's talk about where can you find water on the earth.
Many people call Earth the water planet. 70% of the Earth is covered by the water, and only a small portion is available for human to use. Of the total water supply, 97% is located in the oceans. This is salt water, so we have just a 3% for fresh water left. 3/4 of that fresh water is frozen in glaciers, and less than 1% of the Earth's total water supply available for human use, and much of it lies underneath Earth's surface. Next, we begin our examination of Earth's water reservoirs, and we start with the oceans. Ocean water is plentiful on the Earth, but it is salty and not good for human use. You would have to remove the salt if you wanted to use ocean water for drinking, bathing, or irrigating crops. Unfortunately, removing salt from ocean water usually isn't practical. Glaciers are common on the Earth's polar regions. For example, large areas of Greenland and Antarctica are covered by the ice. These ice sheets lock up a large percentage of Earth's fresh water. Ice accounts for just more than 2% of the total fresh water on the Earth, but that is 77% of the planet's fresh water supply. It was proposition of using ships to tow large pieces of polar ice to places that need a fresh water. It is an expensive proposition, and just imagine danger if ice sheet breaks up in commercial shipping lines. Our next water reservoirs we're going to talk about underground water. You might have wondered what happened to rain after it falls. If you leave a bucket outside in a rainstorm, it can be full quickly with water. Where does the water that lands the ground, where does it go? Some of it runs off and flows into streams, and some evaporates. A large amount soaks into the ground. Water that is held under the ground in the layers of rock and sediment is called groundwater. The part of the groundwater that is held within an openings in the soil is called soil water. It keeps plants and crops alive. Groundwater also includes underground streams. People in houses that get their water from wells are drinking groundwater. The water is purified as it is slowly permeates through the layers of sediment and rocks. However, if groundwater becomes polluted, it can be very difficult to clean it up. And we are moving on to aquifers. An aquifer is a layer of rock or sediment that has enough well-connected openings to allow groundwater to flow through it. Water collects in open space between rock particles. This water flows through slowly from one open space to another at the rate of a few meters per hour. That's how slowly it moves. Sometimes aquifers are used to supply water to towns and farms. The water is pumped to Earth's surface through a well. Sometimes Earth's surface dips below the level where the groundwater would be. This is where natural lakes and rivers are located. You already have learned about groundwater. The water at the Earth's surface is called surface water. It is found in streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and reservoirs. This is water you can easily see and use. And next place where you can find the water is the atmosphere. Water vapor in Earth's atmosphere has many important roles. For example, clouds need to be formed since water vapor is a source of precipitation. We will be talking about interaction between atmosphere and hydrosphere more in our next video, but right now let's go ahead and move on to our graph. So we're going to create very quickly a graph about amount and percentage of salt water and fresh water in various reservoirs on our planet. Based on our data, we're going to use a bar graph to represent distribution of Earth's water on our planet. So we're going to take just the 4 numbers: oceans, glaciers, groundwater, and freshwater lakes. And on y-axis, I'm going to put total supply of the water in a percentage, and on x-axis it's going to be a location of the water, and I also will include the key which will identify which color is oceans, glaciers, groundwater, and freshwater lakes. And of course, please don't forget your labels on y-axis and x-axis. And the title, for sure, distribution of the Earth's water. All right, let's go ahead and summarize our lesson. Today we have learned about hydrosphere. Now you know that the hydrosphere is a total amount of water on our planet. Also, you can describe and graph amount and percentage of salt water and fresh water in various reservoirs to provide evidence about the distribution of water on our planet, on the Earth. And we used a bar graph to represent this information. And this is all what I have for you for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye now.
Good morning, everybody. Back at you, Professor Reese with African American history. My goodness, haven't we come a long way? We went all the way from the continent of Africa to Africa before slavery, to Jim Crow laws, to migration, to the Harlem Renaissance. We talked about civil rights, the 2 leaders, Dr. King, Malcolm X. So we fast forwarded. Now we're in the 20th century, but we're looking at today. What is happening in the lives of African Americans today? So let's take a look. All right. We've got the state of California, which is currently leading the discussion on slavery reparations. And what that means is because our ancestors, our people, suffered so inhumanely behind the culture and the traditions of another race, legislators, people that make laws, are looking to make reparations, which means I want to apologize, I want to make this right. How can I make this right? Can I give you a bit fact check, say I'm sorry, and then make it right? What can I do to take away the inhumane way that you were treated? So that's one of the things that are going on in the state of California. Then we have the pushback against police brutality that has spread to other countries, never mind our own. hear that police brutality has been incredibly harmful, incredible to me in just the sense that it's even happening at this point, our juncture of our lives. We're almost in 2022, and we have the police force that are brutalizing and killing African Americans. There are business efforts to support the Black Lives Matter movement, hashtag Black Lives Matter. I love that the movement started from Twitter, etc., and we picked it up and ran with it, and now it's become a cause. Some want to say all lives matter, and all lives do matter. But in this case, we're not talking about all lives. We're inclusive of all lives, but we're talking about Black lives in particular. Okay, let's talk about systemic racism. Where does the word systemic come from? If we look at it, my wonderful English folk that love vocabulary will see that systemic comes from the word system. So a system of racism, or systemic racism as it's being called. Systemic racism is the ability for white America to continue to control the lives of Black and brown people through so many different institutions and ways. We're controlled through education. We're controlled through employment. We're controlled through homes, living, even from the things that we buy daily. Look at what we have in our neighborhoods versus what some folk have in their neighborhoods. I don't want to go into my particular case, but something like this happened to me here recently. Okay, so we're looking at the ways that a group of individuals, a different race, can systemically control Black lives. So, individuals, they say, may not see themselves as racist, but they benefit from systems that privilege white faces and white voices. So, they make gains through making sure that everything that they touch, everything that comes through the system is white-based, face, voice, what have you. And we have a history of that right here in Kansas City with the Plaza and J.C. Nichols, but that's another lesson for another time. We look at anti-racism activist Peggy McIntosh. She popularized the understanding of the systemic nature of racism with her famous invisible knapsack. All right, we've got a quiz coming. All right, the quiz asks you to count how many statements you agree with for items such as, how many statements do you agree with? I can turn on the television or open the front page of the newspaper or paper and see people of my race widely represented. Is that true? Do you agree with this? I don't know what you read. If you're not looking at, and it's a shame because magazines are not doing so well right now because this is the era of technology. But when we open up or look at a magazine, do we see us as a race represented? Question number 2. I can be pretty sure of having my voice heard in a group in which I am the only member of my race. How many of you are, let's say you were in a group and it was white people and maybe 1 or 2 brown or Black people. How many of you would feel comfortable speaking up for what you deem to be an injustice or a joke that was made on your behalf or your race's behalf and you didn't find funny? How many of you would speak up in an instance like that? Okay, question number 3. I can worry about racism without being seen as self-interested or self-seeking. So what that means, to break it down, is basically, if you talk about racism in a group, does that mean that you are so one-sided, one-minded, that you cannot see the bigger picture or a whole of racism, all you can see is because I am a black and a brown person, racism exists and this is all there is to it. You people are terrible and so on and so forth. Can you see outside that bigger box? The Black Lives Matter movement came after the death of Trayvon Martin. I'm sure you guys maybe remember hearing about that. A young boy killed down in Florida, had went to the store to get something and then was consequently killed. The movement continued to grow with the death of Michael Brown. Both of these men were black, unarmed, shot and killed. Martin was 17, killed by George Zimmerman in 2012. That's when this thing started growing. That's when this thing, this Black Lives Matter movement started gaining momentum, because it began to happen time after time after time. It was almost sequential in the way that it happened, if you understand. It just continued one after the other. Then we have one of, I think one of the most prolific cases that I happened to watch a little bit on TV was the murder of George Floyd by a police officer who basically put his knee on his neck so that he couldn't breathe. And for the world to see that image, I think, excuse me, said a lot. Okay, so what's next? I know in Kansas City, our police force is working with the mayor. They're working with community leaders to come to the table and begin to have a relationship with law enforcement. So that's one of the things here in Kansas City that we're working towards. I know here in our school district, we are reintroducing, I don't think it was out of every building or school, but we are reintroducing African American history in the classroom, since that is so important. And I think it'd be something that you have to take or should take in order to graduate, because I see things as spectrums, many colors, many visions, many layers. And so until you understand and can peel back each layer one by one, you'll never understand the whole of it. So I think that's kind of where we're going now. Hopefully, individuals that are not of black and brown color will begin to respect, admire, judge us for just who we are, individuals just as they are. So I hope that that's coming down the spectrum. Okay, so there's no easy way to fix the solution. Of course, I can't give answers. Coming from our history and our background, there's so much pain and hurt there that it may take a while before we're able to move into another direction, but I think it can be done. And so we need to be a witness that Black Lives Matter and we are precious in the eyes of God, and that Black lives and all lives matter. Thank you so much. We're going to leave with that African proverb again. A king is not happy unless his heart is happy. I want to thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Lu, and this is the foreign language section, and today we are going to focus on the Chinese idioms. Okay, so the idiom we're going to go over today is called 画蛇添足. Okay, 画蛇添足. So our objective for today, you are going to learn how to say the word 画蛇添足, and then we're also going to learn the story behind this idiom. After that, we're going to learn how to write the characters, and after we finish writing, we're going to do a matching game as a review of the idioms we have learned so far. Okay, so things you may need as usual, a notebook and a pencil, so go get it if you don't have it with you, and we're going to start with a review. Okay, so welcome back. So the idiom we learned last time is called 拔苗助
长. Okay, 拔苗助长. Do we still remember what is 拔苗助长? So 拔苗助长, it means from the character, it means you pull up the seedling to help them grow. But when we use it, it's used for like sometimes we kind of spoil things by excessive enthusiasm. Okay, we kind of provide too much than they need. So that is called 拔苗助长. That's from last time. And today we'll focus on 画蛇添足的故事. 画蛇添足的故事. 楚国. Like usual, we're going to go over in Chinese. After that, we're going to go over in English to make sure you understand. Okay? 楚国有个祭祀祖先的人，赏给他的部下们一壶酒。部下们说，这壶酒给几个人是不够的，应该给一个人。可是给谁呢？他们商量后达成协议，我们每个人在地上画一条蛇，最先画好的人就可以得到这壶酒。这几个人就开始在地上画起了蛇。有一个人最先画好了蛇，他拿起酒壶，正要喝酒，但是他又停了下来。他说：“我给蛇画只脚吧。”于是他左手拿着酒，右手给蛇画脚。还没等他画完，另一个人已经画好了，抢过酒壶。他说：“蛇是没有脚的，你怎么画上脚了呢？”说完，这个人将酒喝了下去，那个给蛇画脚的人就这样失去了这壶酒。Okay, so 画蛇添足的故事。So there was a man, like in ancient China, there was a kingdom called the Chu, and then there was a man in that country, and he awarded his like subordinates a pot of wine. Okay, but they said it is not enough for all of the subordinates he has, so we should give it to only one person. So who should we give it to? So they kind of had a deal. How about each of us like draw a snake on the ground, and the person who finishes first can get it. Okay, so they all agreed. So they started to draw the snake on the ground, as you can see in the picture, like drawing the snake on the ground. And then there was one person who finished first. Okay, and after he finished, he was taking up the wine and think about it, but he kind of stopped. He didn't drink it. He stopped. He thought about, I'm so good at drawing. How about let me draw some feet for the snake. Okay, so he kind of hold the wine with the left hand and draw some feet for the snake with the right hand. But he has not finished yet. There's another person who finished also. So that person grabbed the wine and he said, snakes, they don't have feet. Why did you draw like feet for them? So after he finished talking, he kind of finished drinking the wine, and then the first person who finished lost the chance, lost the opportunity to drink. Okay, so that is this story. 画蛇添足. So the meaning of this story, from the characters, if we translate from the character, it was painted snake with feet. So we usually use this idiom to describe like people who do extra things and make the situation worse. Okay, so sometimes it's better you do the things appropriately. You don't do too much because it may make the situation getting worse. Okay, so now let's take out your notebook and then write the characters together with me. Okay. 画蛇添足. 画 蛇天足画 means draw 画横竖横竖横竖横 and then 竖横竖画 means draw okay 蛇 snake 竖横竖横竖提点撇横折撇竖弯钩 okay 画蛇 so draw the snake 天 you write the water radical by this side and then the right part 横横撇捺 then 竖钩点点点 okay 天 means add on okay and 足 means feet or foot you write square and then 竖横撇捺 okay 画蛇添足 which means paint a snake with feet to do extra things and make the situation worse okay after me together 画蛇添足画蛇添足 okay so this is the story about 画蛇添足 and then the story we learned today 画蛇添足 let's do a matching practice now so I have 3 idioms that we have learned so far just to check if you still remember them so we have 胸有成竹 we learned at the beginning of our semester 胸有成竹 and also 掩耳盗铃 and this is the 画蛇添足 we just learned today and it has the English meaning on this side I'll give you about 10 seconds to read about it see if you can do the matching correctly we'll check together okay so have a well thought plan before act which idiom is that so stuff one's ear when still the bell cannot deceive oneself and paint a snake with feet okay which one is which okay ready to check so 画蛇添足 which is the one we learned today paint a snake with feet 画蛇添足 you really describe you do extra things and make the situation worse and then have a well thought plan before act do we still remember the story about drawing the bamboo so the painter is 胸有成竹 has the picture of the bamboo before he draw so have a well thought plan before act 胸有成竹 so this one let's see if you match them correctly 胸有成竹画蛇添足So the last one, 掩耳盗铃 okay, stuff one's ear when still the bell, you can deceive yourself. Okay, so this is the review of the magic. And to end today, I would like you to have a homework, which is as usual, you're going to write 画蛇添足 3 times by yourself and see if you can create a sentence with it. Okay, so this is the lesson for today. It's my pleasure having you in my class and I'll see you next time. We'll continue our journey for Chinese idioms.
The desire to create lives within each of us, from Grammy-winning producers and musicians to NBA stars to Navy admirals and Medal of Honor recipients, to internationally renowned artists and beloved local muralists, Paseo graduates have been creating their own success, their own history, their own legacy since 1926. Now it's your time. Create your future at Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Paseo.
I love Southeast because of the culture, the band program, and restorative justice.
I love Southeast because of the academics, sports, and students.
I love Southeast because of the people, the energy, and the advanced classes.
It's not alike. I love Southeast because the students here at Southeast are full of potential and they believe in achieving anything.
We are Southeast.
Southeast.
We stand shoulder to shoulder.
Join the Southeast family. Enroll today.
Hello, we're happy to have you visit Carver. We are a dual language school where our students become truly bilingual and biliterate.
Welcome to Carver Dual Language.
Hola, bienvenido al primer grado en Carver.
Welcome to first grade in Carver. In kindergarten and first grade, all students learn to read and write in Spanish.
Welcome to 4th grade at Carver. In 4th grade, our students have the opportunity to join our robotics team. Our students work together on a community project and learn to code a robot's movements.
By 6th grade, Carver students are truly bilingual and biliterate. Students can fluently speak, read, and write in both Spanish and English. Carver students move on to much success in middle school, high school, and beyond.
We celebrate Hispanic heritage throughout the year at Carver Dual Language. Each year, students develop a plan to make goods to develop and to sell at our mercado. This is our annual fall market that classes have booths that students come together and sell their items that they've created. Staff, community members, family, parents, grandparents, all can come together, buy the goods, and celebrate Hispanic heritage together.
In Carver, we have an involved PTA where parents and families can be part of our school community.
Thank you for joining us on this tour. If you would like to schedule a personal tour or learn more about our school, please call 816-418-4925.
Welcome to Foreign Language Academy, Kansas City one and only emerging school for Chinese and Spanish.
We are so happy to have you visit FLA. I'm Dr. Joel Ramsdale, the principal of Foreign Language Academy. We are the region's only international baccalaureate school that is authorized as a primary years program, as well as being in candidacy for our middle years program. We look forward to sharing more about our school with you.
Bienvenidos al cuarto grado. Immersion is the best way for a student to become fluent in a foreign language.
At FLA, we have a strong sense of community. Our parent-teacher organization meets monthly and organizes different events and activities such as Arts Night, where students can showcase their artwork and also enjoy live performances by students.
Each year, the 8th grade Spanish student fundraise to help support a trip to Costa Rica.
Children at FLA have an advantage, learning English as well as a foreign language. This will prepare them for not only being in the classroom, but beyond.
When our families join FLA, they select a school for their kids that is elementary and middle school. Our students are able to experience the full immersion program since kindergarten all the way to 8th grade.
Thank you for joining us on this virtual tour. We appreciate it. If you would like to learn more about Foreign Language Academy or schedule a personal tour, please call our school phone number, which is 816-418-6000. We look forward to sharing all of the great things that we're doing here at the Foreign Language Academy with you.